Key Bar Rule Series. Property.
Ownership. Adverse possession. Adverse possession allows a person in possession of land to obtain valid title. To perfect a claim, the possessor must establish that their possession is continuous, open and notorious, actual, exclusive, hostile, and for the statutory period. If possessed under color of title, the claim is for the whole. Otherwise, the claim is for that portion of land which is occupied. Delivery. The deed becomes effective upon delivery, which requires intent to transfer and acceptance by the grantee. Recording is not required but perfects the deed against subsequent interests. Recording acts. Under common law, disputes over priority of title to land were determined by the rule of first in time, first in right. Recording acts were established to protect the rights of subsequent purchasers against prior title holders who failed to record their interests. Such unrecorded prior titles are not valid against a good faith purchaser for value, who took without notice and/or recorded first. Depending on whether the jurisdiction is race, notice, or race notice. Notice can be provided by 1. Actual, 2. Inquiry, 3. Record, constructive method. Use. Easement. An easement is a right to use the land of another. It may be express or implied. The burden runs with the land, except BPV, bona fide purchaser for value, who takes without notice. Type of easement. Appurtenant easements benefit a particular parcel of land and require two estates. A dominant estate, the benefited land, and a servient estate, the burdened land. Appurtenant easements are presumed to be perpetual and generally run with the land when the dominant estate is transferred to a new owner. Easements in gross benefit the holder personally for the use of the servient estate and do not involve a dominant estate. Easements in gross are not transferable under common law. However, under modern law, commercial easements in gross are generally transferable. Covenant. A covenant is a promise on how land is used. It is a legal right, the breach of which is remedied by damages. For the burden to run with the land, there must be 1. A writing, 2. Intent to run, 3. A promise that touches and concerns the land, 4. Notice, and 5. Both horizontal and vertical privity. For the benefit to run, no privity is required. Equitable servitude. An equitable servitude is a restriction on how land may be used. It is an equitable right, the breach of which is remedied by injunction. No privity is required for the burden to run. Implied reciprocal servitude. An implied reciprocal servitude arises when a developer intends a common scheme and the buyer has notice. It is enforceable by other lot owners, and the remedy is typically an injunction. Nuisance. A private nuisance is the substantial, unreasonable interference with the use and enjoyment of one's land. Constructive eviction. A construction eviction occurs when there is a breach of the implied covenant of quiet enjoyment. The tenant must show that there was a substantial interference with the use and enjoyment of the property, give notice to the landlord, and give a reasonable time to cure. If there is failure to correct, the tenant must vacate within a reasonable time and treat it as an eviction. Implied warranty of habitability. Residential leases must be fit for human habitation. If the premises are not habitable, the tenant has 4 options. 1. Terminate the lease and vacate. 2. Make repairs and deduct from rent. 3. Withhold rent for the fair market value in its current condition. Or 4. Pay rent but sue for damages. Concurrent estates. Joint tenancy with right of survivorship. A joint tenancy is a form of concurrent ownership. 1. In which each co-tenant has an undivided equal interest in the property and 2. A right of survivorship. A joint tenancy is formed by express intent along with the unities of time, title, interest, and possession. The right of survivorship means that upon the death of one joint tenant, the remaining tenants automatically acquire the deceased tenant's interest. Severance. A joint tenancy is severed when one tenant conveys their interest or mortgages their share. These actions break the unities and result in the creation of a tenancy in common. Lien theory. In most jurisdictions, lien theory, a mortgage is treated as a lien on title and does not sever a joint tenancy. Under lien theory, a joint tenancy is severed only upon foreclosure. In contrast, in minority jurisdictions, title theory, a mortgage is treated as a transfer of title, which does sever a joint tenancy. Future estates. Rule against perpetuities. The RAP prevents a grantor from creating a future interest that would vest too remotely. A contingent interest must vest, if at all, within 21 years after a life in being at the time the interest is created.